Good morning, it's another day here in the bike shop. If you're new here, my name's Forrest. I'm a full-time bike shop manager and mechanic, and this afternoon I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I ended up running a bike shop. Here we go. A video like this is really going to be more of a life story, and I figured I could give you guys some motivation and really show you guys where I came from and where I plan to go in the future. All my life, from a very young age, I've been riding bikes, fixing bikes for my friends, and doing it all out of my home garage. And this started really as early as I can remember, probably the age of between 5 and 8 years old, sharing tubes with my friends in the garage, teaching them how to do repairs that I had figured out to do. During this time, I would do lots of small repairs for my friends, the complicated stuff that they couldn't do, and I would share a lot of the bike parts that I would collect with them as well, so we didn't have to visit the local bike shops. This would continue for the next couple years. I would eventually get myself into dirt jumping and riding mountain bikes a little bit later on, but it wasn't until after I would build a dirt jump in front of my house and become locally infamous for having the raddest dirt jump in my front yard that anyone could hit at any time. Although riding all the time with my friends around town, not really taking things too serious, was really fun at first, it quickly became very repetitive, and this is when my neighbor decided to give me his old mountain biking frame. This is what really lit the spark underneath me and would get me into racing at the young age of about 8 years old. I would start racing around the young age of 8 years old, and I raced most years up through high school competitively. I was racing a few different mountain bike races locally and across California. From that age on, all the way up through grade school and through high school, I would then accumulate somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 mountain bike races. From that young age, I would develop a racing mentality, always wanting to jump and go as fast as I possibly could, any chance I could get. And if I forgot to mention, this was downhill racing. It was right around this time I was getting ready to graduate high school, and I needed a future plan. I knew if mountain biking didn't work out, I could always resort back to college, get a degree, and take things from there. But somewhere in the back of my mind, biking was always there. I would really try to take racing seriously for the next couple years, really try to turn that into a career for myself. However, the major downfall struck one afternoon. This was right at the point when the great disease would strike. A lot of racers' careers, even those who were worldwide known, very professional athletes making tons of money, got cut from their programs, and brands were starting to pull back on their athlete funding, resulting in almost no jobs in the industry. It was at this point I would have to make a critical life decision, and that was to go back to school. I decided to do general education with a major in welding and science. The hardest part for me about this was the feeling that I had been left behind. I would see all of my friends on social media going to four-year schools, getting these high-paying jobs, and I was still stuck doing my general education back in college, and I really felt like I was back at square one, not getting anywhere, and pouring my time and effort into things that weren't really going to benefit me in the long run. Now, I don't want this to take away from anyone that is going to school or wants to do school, and as the story continues, I'll explain to you what I ended up doing with school, and it did benefit me in the long run. But at this point in my life, I'm just saying I did not think it was going to be worth my time. I would spend about 3-ish years in community college and started working on getting even more welding certifications. While really feeling like I was stepping into the unknown, I was still riding my bike all the time, and I was able to keep a level head on my shoulders and still kind of trying to work towards the goal of becoming a mountain bike athlete as the industry would revive after the pandemic. But it was still very difficult. I would have that constant feeling that I was stepping into the unknown. And this was probably one of the most scary places I've ever been in my life. I've stood on top of 12,000 foot mountain ranges in the middle of the night as a snowstorm is coming in alone with no map, no way to know how to get back to the car. And I felt more alone, not knowing what I was going to do with my future than in situations like that. And it was then I knew I was on the right path to success, and I just had to keep going. This feeling of loneliness definitely didn't subside. Watching all of my friends get high-paying jobs, graduate college, and move on with their life definitely didn't leave my mind. But I couldn't shake the fact that nobody was really working towards their dreams. Nobody seemed very happy with the jobs that they were getting. I really felt like if I kept leaning into the feeling of being uncomfortable, eventually I would break through and find some comfort in the uncomfortable. So I would begin sending emails, job hunting, searching for anything that I could do to get me further towards these goals. And don't forget, I had a little bit of welding knowledge as well. I could have given in and just went to the nearest union job, became a welder, and moved on with my life, and everything would have been merry and fun. But you know me, when everyone goes right, I like to go left and try to do things the unconventional way, a little bit out of the box. And this is where the next part of my story starts to take a turn for the better. And it has to do a lot with consistency. I would watch a YouTuber who would work on his truck every once in a while. He had a little bit of a following, and he mentioned in one of his videos he was looking for an intern, someone to help him film his YouTube videos and to work on his four-wheel drive trucks. This person lived a few hours from me, but I went out on a limb and sent him an email asking if I could come down for an interview. And to my surprise, by some lick of luck, he did respond, and I would go down and talk to him for a while. I got to see how he ran his business and what his goals were and how he was going to be achieving those goals. With that little bit of knowledge I would attain from him on how to achieve your goals, I would begin sending emails and setting up Zoom meetings with action sports folks all across the community. At this point, I was well into my career search, trying to do things with my freelance point of view. I continued to get told no. I had meetings with some of the highest level individuals from various sports drink companies, and everyone had the same piece of advice for me. What was my overall goal, and how niche down was I willing to get with my goal? I realized none of these high-level individuals wanted to pour any time or effort into me because I wasn't willing to niche down my goal enough and tell them what I really wanted to do. But still, the answer would continue to be no, and I would yet again step off into the all-familiar unknown. It was at this point I realized I would have to stop relying on others to achieve goals, and I was going to have to branch out on my own. I kid you not, no more than 2 days after I stopped pouring all that energy into people that knew nothing about me, I got a text message. And the text message that I received was from our local bike shop asking me if I'd like to come in and put in a few hours. And of course I said yes without even asking what the hours were or the pay. After a few months in the bike shop, I'd eventually turn this into a full-time gig, balancing work and school, grinding my brain and my fingers to the bone, and not getting much sleep. It was then I would circle back around and meet up with a longtime mentor and also the general manager at the time of our shop. He would train me through consistency. Over the next few months, I would learn customer service skills and the repair work, as well as how to run a small business. Shortly after becoming all too comfortable in my new bike shop position, all of my coworkers would move on from the business and leave me to fend for myself. But that's okay. It's at times like this where I find that I really succeed. My mentor and the one that was general managing both of our shops now works at our other location, and he is proudly the new owner of both shops, which left me all alone and the manager of my own location. Which at the time left me with that realization I was a 19-year-old kid managing an entire bike shop, having to figure out all the repair work, customer service skills, and learn how to run a small business. Because keep in mind, these are two different bike shops. The other location we have is in a completely different town, which I don't mind at all. I think in these situations, this is where I thrive the most. And that leads us to our next segment of the video, and that's putting in the hard work. For the next 4 years, I would consistently grind day in and day out, learning bike repair skills and even more customer service skills. We don't have a website, so I don't have to manage that. However, I'm the only one that works in our bike shop, so I'm answering the phone, doing repairs, talking to customers, and selling product at the same time. Working alone in a bike shop does have its benefits. I've developed a lot of personal industry connections because of working here. I became at home in this bike shop. The skills I've developed here, the personal connections, and the connections with the community I've developed are unmatched as to any other job I could have asked for. And that kind of leads me to our next segment, that is present day and my future. So it was around this time I would begin to start dabbling in the world of YouTube. I noticed a lot of content creators were starting their own small businesses doing what they loved every day, and I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. At the time, I was mainly filming videos about working on trucks. That is another one of my hobbies, building trucks, engine swapping trucks, hot rods, that sort of thing. The only videos I had uploaded about bikes until this point were short Instagram clips and Instagram posts about races. Until one day I decided to upload a video about electric bikes. The video about electric bikes that I filmed at first shattered my expectations, and it opened up an entirely new audience to me of folks who love bikes. This really lit a new fire underneath me. Not only had I been working in the bike shop at this point for almost 4 years, I now had a brand new YouTube channel with tons of you guys who were looking for videos once a week. It was at this point I really started to feel like I had circumnavigated the entire system. I kind of did the entire process in reverse. But the number one thing is I had never given up on my goals. And who knows, I still have part of a science degree to continue. I can always go back and finish someday. And that brings us full circle. I absolutely love what I do. I work a ton, but I love what I do, and I get to get out and ride my mountain bike as much as I possibly can any day of the week. If I can provide a few points of advice to those out there that might be in need, someone to give them a helping hand, this is what I would do. I would find a mentor that does what you want to do, or at least a close group of friends who has your best interest in mind. And if you do struggle to find a mentor, find yourself a solid group of friends that supports your goals 100%, and make sure they have goals you can support as well. Put your hard-earned effort and energy into things that are going to better you, and also people that are going to better you. Don't be selfish. Give as much as you take, but really note who you are around and note your surroundings. Whether that's people, a job, life skills, relationships, whatever it is, really make sure what you're pouring your energy into gives you a positive vibration you can get energy back from. This is going to sound corny, but you have to be so hard-headed, you have to be willing to absolutely manifest your goals, because nobody is going to do it for you. My other tip of advice would be to learn some self-discipline. Fixate on your goals so much that you manifest them into existence. This is really important. You need to train yourself to be so hard-headed that you never allow yourself to give up on your goals, because as soon as you give up, they've won. If anyone has any motivational stories, let's hear them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and click the link in my description. It'll take you to a playlist. You can see so many more videos just like this one. If you guys did enjoy this video, please don't forget to give me a like and give me a subscribe as well. It really helps the channel. I gotta jet out of here before my GoPro dies. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you next week.